The courtroom doors opened at 9:15 on a Tuesday morning in Providence, and I knew before the file even touched my bench that this was not going to be an ordinary traffic matter. You learn things when you sit behind a bench long enough. You learn how honest people walk in. You learn how frightened people walk in, and you learn how entitled people walk in too. Madison Clark, 19 years old, walked into that courtroom like the building had been rented for her convenience. Designer handbag, polished hair, phone in her hand, eyes moving across the room as if every person there had interrupted her day. She did not look nervous. She looked inconvenienced. And let me tell you something right now. When a person walks into court after ignoring 3 court dates, after driving through a school zone like it was a private racetrack, and still thinks the biggest problem is that the room is wasting her time, that person is about to receive an education no private school ever gave her. Stay with me, because this is where privilege stops being an attitude and starts becoming evidence. The clerk called the courtroom to order. Everyone rose except Madison. She stayed seated, scrolling on her phone as if the instruction had been meant for the ordinary people. The bailiff cleared his throat. She looked up annoyed, then stood slowly, the way a teenager stands when a parent tells her to clean a room she believes should be cleaned by somebody else. Her attorney stood beside her. Expensive suit, expensive watch, expensive confidence. I have seen that package before. Some lawyers walk into court prepared to argue the facts. Others walk in hoping their client's last name will do the talking. This lawyer looked like he had been paid to keep reality from entering the room. The clerk read the matter into the record. Commonwealth versus Madison Elizabeth Clark. Reckless driving. Excessive speed in an active school zone. Failure to appear for 3 prior dates. Contempt issues related to prior no-shows. Madison shifted her weight as if the charges were minor details on a hotel bill. I looked down at the citation, then up at her. Miss Clark, I said, you were cited for driving 67 miles per hour in a posted 25 miles per hour school zone during dismissal. Is that correct? She shrugged. Not a nervous shrug. Not a confused shrug. A bored shrug. I was late, she said. Late? That was her defense. Late for what? I asked. A tennis lesson. There are moments in court when the room understands the case before the defendant does. This was one of them. Children crossing a street, flashing school zone lights, a crossing guard with a stop sign, a police officer doing his job, and a 19-year-old in a silver BMW deciding her tennis lesson mattered more than the safety of children. I asked her if she understood that. She looked at me and said, "No one got hurt." That phrase is a favorite of people who almost cause tragedy. No one got hurt. As if the law should wait until a child is on the pavement before it becomes serious. As if a reckless act becomes acceptable because luck intervened. Luck is not a defense. Luck is what keeps a defendant from facing a funeral instead of a fine. And here is where the story shifts completely. Officer Martinez was called forward. He had been in traffic enforcement for 12 years. Calm, professional, not dramatic. Officers like him do not impress me by being loud. They impress me by being precise. He opened his notebook and testified that he had been stationed near Sunset Elementary at 3:18 in the afternoon. The beacon was flashing. The crossing guard was active. Children were in and around the crosswalk. Madison's BMW came through at 67 miles per hour, 67 in a 25. That is not a mistake. That is a missile with leather seats. He activated his lights. She did not pull over immediately. She stopped 3 blocks later. When he approached, she was still on her phone. He asked for her license and registration. And according to Officer Martinez, her first meaningful response was not apology, not confusion, not even irritation about the ticket. It was, "Do you know who my father is?" Now, I have heard that sentence more times than I care to remember. Do you know who my father is? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I know? That sentence is never about truth. It is about intimidation. It is the sound of someone reaching into a pocket and pulling out borrowed power. Her attorney objected to the testimony, calling it irrelevant. I overruled him. Of course, it was relevant. When someone threatens a police officer during a traffic stop, that matters. When someone invokes a police chief as a shield, that matters. When someone behaves as if a badge in the family is a magic eraser, that matters very much. Officer Martinez continued. Madison told him she was the daughter of Police Chief William Clark. She said the citation would be handled internally. She demanded that he call her father. When he refused, she told him her father would make sure he ended up on parking meter duty. Then she drove away before he could finish the citation process. I looked at Madison. Is that accurate? She rolled her eyes. I might have said something like that. I was frustrated. Frustrated? I repeated. You threatened an officer's career because you were frustrated about being stopped after racing past children. That's not what happened. That is exactly what happened. A courtroom can survive many things. Tears, anger, confusion, even fear. What it cannot allow is a person who thinks accountability is optional. Madison was not just fighting a ticket. She was fighting the idea that rules applied to her. The clerk then handed up a folder. It contained a contact log from the court office. For calls from Chief William Clark's direct line, 2 voicemails, 1 email, all requesting that this matter be handled administratively rather than in open court. The dates lined up after Madison failed to appear, not once, not twice, 3 times. I asked Madison if she had asked her father to contact the court. She glanced at her attorney, then said, I told him about it. I expected him to help me. That's what fathers do. No, I said. Fathers teach responsibility. They do not erase consequences. That sentence landed harder than she expected. Her expression tightened, not with remorse, but with annoyance. She did not like being corrected. Entitled people rarely do. They confuse correction with disrespect because nobody has told them no often enough for them to recognize it as a complete sentence. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client is young. She made poor choices. We are prepared to pay all fines today and resolve the matter. That is another trick I have seen for years. When ordinary people break the law, they ask for mercy. When privileged people break the law, they ask for a price. They think justice is a bill. Pay it, close it, leave it behind. But this was not a parking meter. This was a school zone. This was a threat to an officer. This was 3 missed court dates. This was an attempt to bend the court through influence. Then Madison did what entitled defendants always do when the truth gets too close. She said the quiet part out loud. This is ridiculous. She snapped. My dad runs half the cops in this city. He has dinner with the mayor every month. He could make 1 phone call, and this whole thing goes away. Silence. Not courtroom silence. Not the ordinary pause after an objection. Real silence. The kind that arrives when a person has just destroyed her own defense, and everyone knows it except her. Her lawyer went pale. The clerk stopped typing. Officer Martinez stared straight ahead. Madison blinked, suddenly understanding that the words had left her mouth and entered the record forever. Miss Clark, I said, you just told this court that your father could make criminal charges disappear with a phone call. She rushed to fix it. That's not what I meant. It is what you said. I meant he has influence. That does not improve it. She had accused her own father, the police chief, of corruption in open court. She thought she was proving power. She was actually proving rot. And once rot is exposed, you do not put perfume on it. You cut it out. Do not go anywhere because what happened next turned a reckless driving case into something much larger. A second file had been delivered to the bench that morning. Inside was an internal affairs report dated November 15th. An anonymous complaint alleged that Chief William Clark had misused his official position to influence municipal court proceedings. The report included phone records, emails, and statements from court personnel. Officer Martinez had filed part of the complaint after Madison threatened his career and after he learned that calls were made asking for special handling. I asked him if that was correct. He said yes. He testified that after the stop, pressure came through channels, requests to classify the violation as a warning, requests to transfer it into administrative review, questions about why Madison Clark was being treated like any other defendant. That phrase, any other defendant, was the whole case. She should have been treated like any other defendant. The problem was that her family believed she should not be. Madison stood suddenly. My father was helping me. That's what parents do. They protect their kids. Sit down, I said. She kept talking until the word now from the bafe made her sit, but her face had changed. The confidence had a crack in it. For the first time, she was no longer certain that the room belonged to her. Then the courtroom doors opened. Chief William Clark entered in uniform and sat quietly in the back, gray-haired, controlled, respected by many, feared by some, and now forced to watch his daughter's words drag his career into the light. Madison turned and saw him. Immediately, she became a child reaching for the same old rescue. Dad, tell them this is a mistake, she said. Tell them you were helping me. His voice was low. Madison, sit down and listen to the judge. She looked stunned. People raised on rescue often mistake restraint for betrayal. She had expected him to stand, make a call, nod to someone important, and fold the room around her. Instead, he told her to sit down. I addressed him directly. Chief Clark, did you contact this court regarding your daughter's case? He stood. I did, Your Honor. Why? I made a mistake. I allowed my role as a father to override my duty as a police officer. That honesty mattered, but honesty after exposure is not the same as innocence. He admitted he had sent the wrong message to his daughter. He admitted he had taught her that his position could shield her. Madison shook her head as he spoke, furious that he would not keep pretending. Then the clerk read prior incidents into the record. May 2024, a parking citation at Brown University dismissed after a call from the chief's office. July 2024, a noise complaint at an off-campus party resolved without charges. September 2024, a fender bender with property damage, but no police report. One incident can be a bad decision. A pattern is a lifestyle. Madison's attorney pleaded for leniency. She needs guidance, he said. She does, I answered. And she is about to receive it. I explained that at 19, arrogance may still be corrected. At 29, if uncorrected, it becomes dangerous. At 39, it becomes somebody else's tragedy. The law does not wait until entitlement matures into catastrophe. It intervenes while there is still a chance to learn. I found the facts clear. Madison drove 67 in a 25 miles per hour school zone during active dismissal. She threatened an officer's career. She ignored 3 court dates. She attempted to rely on her father's office to avoid accountability. And in open court, she stated that her father could make the matter disappear with a phone call. For the traffic violations, I imposed fines totaling $1,200. For the failures to appear, $600. Her license was suspended for 6 months. She was ordered to complete 200 hours of community service with a school safety program, helping children cross streets safely so that she could see the human beings she had treated as obstacles. Then I addressed the contempt for her statements, her conduct, her open contempt for the court and the law. I sentenced her to 30 days in the adult correctional institution, eligible for review after 15 days if she demonstrated genuine remorse and understanding. The room erupted. Madison's face went white. Her attorney objected. The bailiff stepped forward. Chief Clark did not move. He watched. And perhaps for the first time in her life, Madison watched him not save her. Dad, she cried. Do something. Chief Clark stood, removed his badge, and placed it on the bench. Your Honor, he said, I resign my position effective immediately. I compromised the integrity of my office and failed in my duty to uphold equal justice. Madison screamed that it was not fair. She said her family had power in the city. She said they had connections. She said they had influence. No, I said. Influence is what you have lost. Your connections have cost your father his career and you your freedom. But that was only the beginning. Detective Sarah Morrison from Internal Affairs approached with additional documentation. Her investigation had expanded beyond Madison. 17 instances showed Chief Clark or his office contacting municipal court for lenient treatment of connected defendants. Families with political ties, social ties, business ties. Cases reduced, postponed, or quietly dismissed. The estimated value of lost fines and reduced penalties exceeded $68,000. The mayor entered with 2 city council members. Their faces told me they had been briefed. I acknowledged them, and the mayor offered the city's cooperation. Cooperation is necessary, but it is not courage when the evidence is already in the room. I recommended review of every case touched by the chief's office and investigation into whether equal protection had been compromised. Officer Martinez then stood. He said he had wondered for months why certain drivers seemed immune. Families would mention connections. Supervisors would grow cautious. Cases would vanish from follow-up lists. He had assumed administrative confusion. Now he understood that confusion had a name. Corruption. I told the courtroom that anyone who received special treatment because of family connections, political influence, or social standing should expect to be contacted by investigators. Equal justice is not a slogan for courthouse walls. It is a duty. If it applies only to people without connections, then it is not justice. It is theater. Madison from the holding area demanded that someone call her mother. She wanted her mother to call contacts at the State House. She wanted someone to fix it before it got worse. Even after handcuffs, even after her father's resignation, Even after the evidence, she was still searching for influence instead of responsibility. That is the tragedy of spoiled power. It teaches people to look for exits instead of mirrors. Detective Morrison then revealed that Madison was not the only Clark child who had benefited. Her brother Marcus and sister Jennifer had also received special treatment. 11 citations dismissed or reduced across 5 years. The attorney objected, saying those family members were not present to defend themselves. Your client opened this door. I told him she made this a family matter when she bragged about the family's ability to make charges disappear. Every Clark family traffic matter would be reviewed. Any improperly dismissed charge would be refiled. Any reduced fine would be recalculated. That is not revenge. That is repair. Then came the federal folder. The FBI had been monitoring Chief Clark as part of a broader corruption investigation spanning Providence, Cranston, and Warwick. The allegation was coordination between departments to provide courtesy treatment to politically connected families across municipal lines. Courtesy treatment. That is what people call corruption when they are trying to make it sound polite. Chief Clark admitted there had been informal agreements, names recognized on citation lists, calls placed between departments. Consideration extended from one official to another. I told him plainly that what he described sounded like conspiracy to obstruct justice across municipal boundaries. That is not professionalism. That is a federal crime wearing a clean shirt. The federal documents listed 47 instances of interdepartmental coordination with estimated lost municipal revenue across 3 cities exceeding $200,000. The mayor stood again, promising full cooperation. I reminded her that ignorance of systematic corruption in her own police department raised serious questions about oversight. Leaders do not get credit merely for discovering a fire after smoke fills the room. Madison's attorney tried to separate his client from the larger scandal. He argued that she could not have understood the scope of what she had exposed. In a narrow sense, he was right. She did not know the whole machine, but she knew the benefit. She knew the language. She knew the expectation. She did not invent the system, but she used it, bragged about it, and threatened people with it. And that is enough. There is a lesson here for every parent who thinks protection means removing obstacles. If you shield a child from every consequence, you are not protecting that child. You are weakening them. You are teaching them that rules are for strangers, apologies are for poor people, and responsibility is something that can be delegated to lawyers. Then one day, the world does not move aside, and your child mistakes justice for cruelty. Madison learned that day that a courtroom is not a country club. Her handbag meant nothing. Her father's title meant nothing. Her attorney's fee meant nothing. The only thing that mattered was conduct. Chief Clark learned something, too. A badge is not family property. It is public trust. You do not lend it to your children. You do not use it to rescue friends. You do not trade it for favors. The moment you do, you stop being a guardian of the law and become an enemy of it. Before the hearing ended, I addressed the gallery directly. I told them that power does not make a person larger than the law. It makes their obligation to obey the law larger. If your name opens doors, you must be careful which doors you walk through. If your position gives you influence, you must be careful where you point it. And if your child makes a mistake, you help them by teaching them to face it, not by teaching them how to escape it. Madison was escorted through the side door. Her heels clicked against the floor until the sound disappeared behind concrete walls that did not care who her father had been. The correctional institution would not recognize her social circle. The officers there would not be impressed by her contacts. The uniform she would wear would be the same as everyone else's. For the first time, equality would not be a word in a civics book. It would be her daily reality. Chief Clark was expected to be processed before sunset on charges connected to official misconduct, abuse of office, and conspiracy. His resignation might matter morally, but legally it did not erase the conduct. A person cannot resign their way out of accountability. A resignation is not a courtroom. It does not determine guilt. It only marks the moment when power realizes it has run out of room. The city began emergency reforms. Court communications would be logged. Police department contacts would be reviewed. Independent oversight would be created. But reforms do not unbreak trust overnight. 43 local cases and more across neighboring municipalities would be reopened. People who paid fines while connected families paid nothing would have reason to be angry. They should be. A justice system that bends for the powerful forces everyone else to carry the weight. Think about the parents standing outside Sunset Elementary that afternoon holding lunchboxes, backpacks, and small hands. They did not know Madison Clark. They did not know Chief Clark. They did not know there was a network of favors hiding behind official doors. They only knew that a car came too fast through a place where children are supposed to be protected. Those parents follow the rules because the rules are supposed to protect everybody. They slow down. They stop for crossing guards. They pay tickets when they make mistakes. They show up in court when summoned. They do not get to call a chief. They do not get to ask a mayor. They do not get to turn a violation into a warning because their family name sounds important. That is why this case could not be treated like paperwork. It was never just about speed. It was about whether ordinary families could trust that their children mattered as much as a powerful family's convenience. In my courtroom, they do. Every child in that crosswalk mattered. Every parent who trusted that sign mattered. Every citizen who paid a fine without a secret phone number mattered. And when Madison finally understood that the room was not impressed by her name, the law had done what it is supposed to do. It made the powerful stand on the same floor as everyone else. That floor is where justice begins. And it is where every entitled person eventually learns the truth the hard way. And still the most important part of the story was not the mayor, the detective, the chief, or even the federal investigation. It was a 19-year-old girl standing in court and saying what too many people only whisper. That influence should be enough to make consequences disappear. She said it because she believed it. She believed it because adults taught her to believe it. And the courtroom had to answer. The answer was no. No. A father's badge is not a shield. No, a tennis lesson is not worth a child's life. No. Missed court dates do not vanish because your last name is familiar. No, a phone call is not stronger than the law. No, connections do not make you untouchable. They only make the fall more public when the truth catches up. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it is a judge setting down a pen. Sometimes it is an officer telling the truth. Sometimes it is a clerk reading a phone log into the record. Sometimes it is a father finally admitting that his help became harm. And sometimes it is handcuffs closing on a young woman who thought accountability was for everyone else. Madison Clark entered court believing her family's power would end the case. Instead, her arrogance opened every locked drawer in the building. Her traffic ticket exposed favoritism. Her threat exposed abuse. Her boast exposed corruption. Her demand for rescue exposed the emptiness of a life protected from consequences. That is why the sentence mattered. Not because 30 days would fix everything. Not because fines could restore trust. Not because community service could erase danger already created. It mattered because the court finally told the truth in a room where too many people had been pretending. Nobody is above the law. Not the daughter of a police chief, not the police chief, not the mayor's friends, not wealthy families, not lawyers, not business leaders, not anyone who believes a private phone call should override public justice. The door closed behind Madison, and for the first time in her life, nobody opened it for her.